Greetings, this is the Critter Podcast, and I'm Callie Cross. Today's episode is about the mind-bending possibility that countless versions of you are living out every imaginable variation of your life across infinite parallel realities. Right now, as you're listening to this, there's a version of you out there who decided not to listen. There's another version who paused this 30 seconds in. There's a version who became an astronaut instead of whatever you're doing now. A version who married someone else. A version who never met the person you love most. And according to some of the most brilliant physicists alive today, all of those versions are just as real as you are. They're living their lives right now, in parallel universes that split off from ours every time reality faces a choice. Every single choice. This isn't science fiction. This is the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics, and it's probably the most mind-bending idea that actual scientists take seriously. It means that every path you didn't take might actually be getting walked by another you somewhere else in the multiverse. All those what-if moments that keep you up at night? They're not hypotheticals, they're happening. So here's the question that'll haunt you. If infinite versions of you exist, living out every possible variation of your life, which one is really you? Let's talk about how we got here, because this whole thing started with one of the weirdest discoveries in physics. Back in the early 20th century, scientists started studying really tiny things, atoms and particles smaller than atoms, and they found something absolutely bizarre. These particles don't follow the rules of everyday life. They do things that should be impossible. Like, imagine you roll a ball toward two doorways. Common sense says the ball goes through one door or the other, right? But at the quantum level, a particle can somehow go through both doors at the same time. It exists in multiple states simultaneously until you actually look at it. Scientists call this superposition, and it's not a theory. It's something we can actually test and prove in laboratories. Think of it like this. You know Schrödinger's cat, that famous thought experiment? You put a cat in a box with something that might harm it, and until you open the box, the cat is supposedly both alive and not alive at the same time. Most people think that's just a metaphor, but at the quantum level, that's literally how particles behave. They exist in all possible states at once. So here's where it gets really weird. For decades, physicists said, okay, when you measure something quantum, when you open that box, reality somehow chooses one outcome. The cat becomes either alive or not. The particle goes through either one door or the other. They called this wave function collapse, and honestly, nobody really understood how or why it happened. It was just, quantum mechanics is weird, don't ask questions, shut up and calculate. Then this graduate student named Hugh Everett comes along in the 50s and says, wait a second. What if we take the math completely literally? What if the wave function never collapses? What if both outcomes happen and reality just splits into two branches? One universe where the cat lives, another where it doesn't. One where the particle goes left, another where it goes right. Most physicists thought he was absolutely crazy. His idea got largely ignored. Everett actually got so frustrated, he left physics entirely and went to work for the Defense Department. But here's the thing. His math was solid. And over the decades, more and more physicists started taking many worlds seriously. Today, somewhere between 20 and 30% of physicists think he might have been right. Because here's what many worlds solves. It takes quantum mechanics at face value without adding mysterious extras. No random collapse, no special role for observation or consciousness. Just the universe doing what the equations say it does, splitting into parallel versions for every possible quantum outcome. And when I say every outcome, I mean every outcome. Right now, quantum events are happening everywhere. Particles are decaying or not decaying. Electrons are spinning up or down. Photons are bouncing left or right. Every one of these events is a branching point. Scientists estimate that if many worlds is correct, the universe splits something like 10 to the 50th times per second. That's a 1 with 50 zeros after it. Per second. Imagine a tree, but instead of growing over years, it's branching so fast you can't even perceive it. Every microsecond, every tiny twig splits into countless more twigs. Each branch is a complete universe, with its own version of Earth, your life, this moment. You're riding along one specific branch, completely unaware that the tree is growing around you in dimensions you can't access. More after our break.
My name is Tom Sachs. I'm an artist in New York City. For nearly 2 decades, I have been collaborating with Nike.
Nike running is for runners, Nike basketball is for basketball, Nike craft is for everyone else.
Now, here's where your life comes into it. Most of those quantum splits don't affect you. They're happening in random particles in deep space or in the core of atoms in your table. But some of them do affect you. Every decision point you've ever faced, every moment where things could have gone differently, they created branches where they did go differently. You chose coffee this morning instead of tea? There's a universe where you chose tea. You turned left at that intersection? There's a universe where you turned right. You swiped right on that dating app? There's a universe where you swiped left. And these aren't just hypothetical possibilities that could have happened. In many worlds, they did happen. They're happening right now. Think about every major decision you've ever made. The job you took or didn't take. The person you dated or didn't date. The city you moved to or stayed away from. For each of those moments, there's a branch of reality where you made the opposite choice. And that version of you is living with those consequences, thinking they made the right call, just as convinced their universe is the real one as you are about yours. There's a version of you living your dream life. Everything worked out. Every choice was perfect. And there's a version where everything went wrong. Most versions are probably pretty similar to you, just with minor differences. But some branches split off years ago and led to radically different lives. Here's what really messes with your head. You can never meet these other versions of yourself. Once a universe splits, the branches are separate. There's no traveling between them, no communication. No way to know they exist except through the mathematics. From your perspective, you just experience one continuous timeline. You make choices, you live with consequences, and that's your reality. But zoom out to the full multiverse, and you're not one person living one life. You're a vast, branching structure of selves, all equally real, all convinced they're the real you. Now, before you start thinking there's a universe where you're a dragon or where gravity works backward, hold on. These splits happen based on quantum possibilities, not fantasy. The laws of physics are the same in all branches. There's no universe where you have superpowers, because that would require physics to work completely differently. But there are universes for every version of your life that's physically possible. The double-slit experiment is what really drives this home. You shoot a single particle at a barrier with 2 slits. Logic says it goes through one slit or the other. But when scientists do this experiment, they get interference patterns that only make sense if the particle somehow went through both slits and interfered with itself. In the standard interpretation, you measure which slit it went through, and reality collapses to one answer. In many worlds, the universe splits. In one branch, the particle went left. In another, it went right. Both outcomes are real. You just only perceive one branch. And this applies to everything. That coin flip you did yesterday? The universe split. Heads in one branch, tails in another. Both versions of you continued on, neither knowing about the other. From your perspective, the coin randomly came up one way, but there's nothing random about it in the bigger picture. Both outcomes happened. Some physicists actually prefer many worlds because it removes randomness from quantum mechanics. In their view, the total multiverse is completely deterministic. Every possibility that can happen does happen. What seems random to you is just your consciousness following one thread through this massive tapestry of realities. But here's where it gets philosophically wild. If all these versions of you exist, what does that mean about identity? Which one is the real you? The honest answer is all of them. Or maybe none of them is more real than the others. Every version has your memories up until the split point. Every version thinks they're you. Every version has the same claim to being the real you. It's like if you saved a video game, then loaded that save file and played it 10 different ways. Which playthrough is the real one? They're all equally valid continuations of that save point. That's what you are in many worlds, a constantly branching tree of selves, splitting off at every quantum moment. And yeah, this raises some pretty heavy questions about the end of life. If a version of you experiences that in one branch, other versions continue in other branches. Does that make it less final? Or does it not matter because your consciousness in this branch still ends? Philosophers and physicists genuinely debate this. There's this idea called quantum immortality that some people have proposed. The thought experiment goes like this. Imagine you play Russian roulette in a many-worlds universe. You pull the trigger. In most branches, the chamber is empty and you survive. In one branch, it's not. But here's the twisted part. The version of you that experiences the end doesn't experience anything. The only versions of you that continue to experience reality are the ones that survived. More after our break.
Building a new product? Temez Labs takes you from napkin sketch to the App Store. Trusted by Fortune 500s for quality, security, and speed. Book your free strategy session at temez.ai.
So from your subjective perspective, you'd always survive. Every time you pulled the trigger, you'd experience the click of an empty chamber, even though there are branches where you didn't make it. Most physicists think this reasoning is flawed, but it shows how strange many worlds implications get. Now, I know what you're thinking. This sounds insane. Is there any proof? The honest answer is no, not direct proof. We can't visit other branches. We can't detect them. Many worlds is an interpretation of quantum mechanics that matches all the experimental evidence we have, but so do several other interpretations. They all make the same predictions for anything we can actually measure. Some scientists argue this makes many worlds untestable, and therefore unscientific. Others say it's the most elegant explanation, because it doesn't require adding mysterious wave function collapse to the equations. The universe just does what the math says. It's everyone else who's adding extra assumptions. Right now, the scientific community is genuinely divided. It's not that many worlds is fringe science. It's a legitimate position held by respected physicists. But it's not proven fact either. It's one way of interpreting what quantum mechanics means. And here's the thing. It might be fundamentally impossible to prove or disprove. If the other branches are truly separate, if no information can ever flow between them, then how would we know they're there?
Grab news. Tamez.